I was lucky enough to stumble across a game called Rental this evening. Coming across it was completely random, almost like fate. It just fell into my lap, and the screenshots and trailer totally piqued my interest. But then it sent me down a rabbit hole that made me realize that analog horror is one of the greatest video game genres ever. Yeah, I'll say it. Ever. Let me plead my case. Let's have a conversation about this. Plead my case might be coming on a little strong. You can't really argue against something that's subjective. It's my taste in games, and I think these are awesome. Unfortunately, I took a long time to take this deep dive into the genre, but I'm really happy I did. Analog horror is like today's version of found footage films and gaming. It's like low fidelity graphics, like you're looking at a PlayStation 1 game or a Nintendo 64 game or some old Windows game, something lost in time. It always feels like you're stepping into some brand new creepypasta game. It feels like you're playing the game back then, but it doesn't even feel like the character in the game is who you're controlling, rather than the person actually playing. It's really a surreal experience. At least it feels like that way to me, especially with some games like Kart 64. And in just a moment, I'll start getting into each game I played during this rabbit hole, one by one, to give you an idea of what I thought about them, and whether or not you should pick them up, and if it's worth the experience. And just to give some praise to these devs that are doing these games, mostly for free. It almost feels like magic when you stumble across games like this. It feels like they're meant for you. Just like the creepypastas, they feel targeted towards you and your nostalgia. It's an attack on your nostalgia, and it can really scare you. I jumped a few times. Some of these games could also be considered mascot horror, and a mascot horror game can be an analog horror game, not to be too confusing. I would say A Man of the Adventurer is very much an analog horror and also a mascot game. I made a video about how I feel about mascot horror and how I see it as something predatory and really hurting the gaming world, especially because it's targeted towards children, and I think that's messed up. We need quality games fed to children, not shovelware garbage like Gartan of Ban. If you feel so inclined to watch that video, you'll see that I do praise the mascot horror games that are quality video games. So like I said, they're not all bad. It's just as a majority, that genre is shaky at best. I haven't seen too much bad out of analog horror, and that could be my ignorance. Maybe if we touch base on this again, I'll start to see a lesser side of this, but I got really lucky with the games I played tonight. I cannot say enough high praise about this. The creepy feelings and aesthetics are so pleasing to me, and I feel like it's something that anybody at any age could enjoy. Whether you're older and you were playing those games back in 2000, or you're a kid and you don't have that experience with them, but these games are usually crafted so well that it doesn't matter, and you can still appreciate that retro vintage vibe. We all love watching a movie that's based around the 60s, 70s. Those period pieces can be really good. So it's not that crazy to think younger to older, anybody can appreciate this. Itch.io, or Itch.io, why do I have such a hard time with that website, man? I mean, that's where a lot of these come from. Sometimes you can find them on Steam, though. And that's how I got to our first game, Rental. My channel features mostly commentary, about 99% of the time, so I was looking for something that I could talk about, rant about, maybe review a game, and I jumped on Steam. I don't even remember how I found Rental. Maybe it was under new games. I think it just came out like a month ago, and I saw that it looked like an Animal Crossing game, but horror. Almost like Silent Hill mixed with Animal Crossing. And after playing it, I think that's a pretty good comparison. I'm gonna do my best not to spoil anything in this video because I do think it's worth the experience. It might be hard, but all you can do is try. In Rental, you play as Umi, a little rabbit girl that goes on vacation with her little rabbit family, and you have to go to your rental house. And as you're there, for some reason, the guardians tell the older but still not old sibling to go check inside the house. That's you, that's Umi. So you have to go into the house and see if you can find the rental man, or like she likes to call him, the dental rental man, or some crap like that. Once you're in the house, some freaky stuff starts to happen, especially with that dental man. It's a rather short puzzle game, but the atmosphere is great, and it feels like stepping into a PlayStation 1 game. There's a lot of text to read on screen, and you do have to explore the entire house to finish the game. They do one major thing that helps flesh it out a little bit and get a little more time out of it, but ultimately you could beat it in about 15 minutes. And that's fine because the price tag is very appealing at $0. That you don't beat that. It's very charming and well made, especially when you consider it was made for a game jam. If you don't know what a game jam is, usually it's large groups of developers developers that get together and set a time limit for everyone to make a game or groups of people to make games. And then once the time limit's up, anybody that was able to make a game, a working game, will share it with everyone. And sometimes you get stuff like this, pretty much a finished game. Something that could be expanded upon, sure, but it's a good standalone package, and it really showcases what this creator was able to do in such a short amount of time. Sometimes game jams can be just one person's challenge, like they could set themselves 30 days to do something, and that's what happened with this next game, Replay. Replay was the fourth game that I played. I'm skipping over two more for now, and I'll get to those in just a moment. Replay is a very interesting concept that a lot of games don't touch on, and the person who made it said they did it as a 30-day challenge. There's two methods to the gameplay here. One of them is you playing on an old retro TV as you do a platforming Mario Brothers-esque game where you're sneaking into houses and stealing gold coins. The other game is checking your surroundings outside of that game, very much playing on the feeling that you're not playing the game as you, but as someone else playing that in a different time period. You think that might come on a little strong and ham-fisted, but really it works perfectly here. This game made me jump and scream. I had to get up and go to the bathroom and piss just to make sure the final game I play tonight does not wreck me and destroy my room, or at least the chair, the cushion, and the hardwood floor beneath me, and my pants and underwear, and my self-esteem and pride. Look, I'm no stranger to screaming. I do it a lot, not even in horror games sometimes. There's a big twist in this game, and I don't want to spoil anything like I said, but I did not see it coming, and it ruined me. All right, I gotta spoil it. Listen, I'm gonna show the clip of what happened because it's so brilliant. If you don't want to see it, jump to the next chapter. I always make sure to make chapters, so jump ahead to not spoil it for yourself. But this was so creative and unique that I loved it so much, and it made me really appreciate the game. I don't want to talk right now. Hey, man! Did you just reset my prog, dude? What the hell was that? Someone had chili on the door frame. Green chili. Some roadhog traps on the ground, dude. Hey, it's me. Whoa! Bro, fix your game. It's too scary. I can't go into doors anymore. No, don't kill him. Oh, that's our house. Dude, the folks are dead. We just killed our parents. No. No, we don't gotta go any further. I got nothing else to do. Dog, this is some of the scariest stuff I've ever seen. Oh, no. God damn. That's really that's really clever, dude. Repay. Wow. That is so damn good. I'm not very good at math. That turns out that was my 5th game that I played. Not that that's very important. Not every game I played was amazing like Replay. And yeah, I'd say that game's amazing, especially for 30 days. I'd love to see what this developer could do with a budget and a lot of time and maybe a team behind them. This was really creative. There was 2 games out of the 5 that I've played so far. I haven't got to the 6th, not yet, that I wasn't totally in love with. One of which, and I don't want to upset anybody with this. I'm sorry if you love these games. I just thought they were okay. And I don't want to be too critical on indie games, especially both of these games offering you the pick your price. The first one was Maple County. Maple County is a game where you're viewing a video on becoming a police officer. It's an assessment test, but it goes weird and it gets crazy. Maybe you like that. I mean, it's 5 minutes long. Everybody should play it. It's 5 minutes long. You give the dev a couple bucks and then you enjoy your 5 minutes with it. It's shorter than a YouTube video. What do you got to lose? I am going to do my best not to say anything negative about these games, but the voice acting was like a surfer bro kind of vibe, and it was totally unbelievable.
I mean, he definitely knows I'm looking at him, and he knows I'm calling the cops, so hopefully he'll fuck off, but I don't know, something's just off. Oh, what's your address? It's
Bro, the acting is
road.
Hilarious. Some of the stuff with like the AI mom was you know, spooky enough, but it was over in about 4 minutes. It just wasn't very scary. I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan of Maple County. Not saying it's not great, and I think it's a little bit older than these other games. So it's more of a front runner and origins of the genre and everything. So I respect it for that, but it didn't really get me. The other one was Explore the Ocean. Now I'm someone with thalassophobia, which means I have a fear of open water, and I can't play Subnautica without blasting Snoop Dogg to calm my senses, not listen to the horrific sounds that happen underneath the ocean. I mute the game volume and just play Snoop Dogg because I don't know why. That's just how I do it. So I thought this one would get me, but it's really not. It's much of nothing, in my opinion. It's not bad. Maybe it would have been a better like YouTube video because it's almost not interactive at all. Explore the Ocean is a game where you explore the ocean. It just gives you facts about different creatures there and how it works and water and pressure and it's just an ocean. It just talks about the ocean. That's really just it. Some of these games are just that simple. Didn't hate it. It was again over in 5 minutes. There was some weird thing that happens at the end of the game I thought was going to open up into more and it didn't. Look, I'm not a big fan of those two. They're not for me. I think I like games that focus more on parody of other classic games like Kart 64. This one's like the newest one, if I'm not mistaken. This one I think just came out on itch.io. At least all the reviews, and I mean, if you go through the comments on there, it's just a bunch of people promoting their YouTube videos, which is fine. You know, get the grind on, get your stuff out there. Respectable, whatever. Man, this one was freaking cool. It is exactly like Mario Kart, the old school one, like the Super Nintendo one, which I don't have a lot of experience in. I'm not that old. I still know what it is, and I've seen a lot of gameplay on it, and I may have played it at some point a few years ago, probably an emulator, maybe on my phone. Well, maybe it's more like Nintendo 64's Mario Kart, which I did play a little bit when I was a kid. Double Dash was better. Kart 64 is the very definition of subverting expectations in the way you're supposed to not play the way you would if it were Mario Kart. It goes off the rails. It's not subtle about that at all. And the mystery behind it is all fueled on how old games would react and act to breaking the game. It's all about breaking the game in any way that you can and the repercussions inside of the game for you doing that. And it's brilliantly crafted. There's a mechanic with the traffic cones that I absolutely love. There's just something so satisfying about dinking them off your car. That's fun. I had such a blast with this game. Oh, it has one of the coolest features I've seen in an indie game where it has split screen on the main menu, but clicking it tells you to input a Nintendo 64 controller. Why did I ever say Super Nintendo? It literally tells you 64 controller right there. I love that. Super creative, super funny. Gags like that make these games feel even more alive and give them so much personality. Great game. I have to recommend that one. I don't know if I loved it more than Replay, but I loved it more than Rental, and those game names are confusing me. Replay and Rental are so close. All these games have so much personality and life to them, but they're not my white whale, so to speak. About a month ago, we were just vibrating on stream, and I was browsing through Steam, which I like to do from time to time, just to see what's coming out, what's going on. I love video games, news, new games, all that junk. And I saw something, you know, I think it was a 24-hour stream, and I thought I was so sleep deprived that what I was seeing wasn't real, because it was so creepy and weird. It was called Shipwrecked 64. I know a few weeks ago, Game Theory and everything already went after this game. I only found that out after I started making this video and doing a bit of deep dive. I'm sure you all know what that game is, but I don't know anything about it, just some thumbnails that my boy Matt Pat made. I'm about to get into it right now. I'm very excited. Now, it does cost $8. These other ones are essentially free. You can name your price on itch.io. Try to do that. Try to support them in any way you can. Help them grow as developers and make more games, because that's the point of this video. That's why I'm making this. These people are way more talented than I expected. These games are so much fun that I can already feel myself becoming an itch.io binge gamer and just going through the lists and finding every new game, which I should have done when I played that Night of the Consumers. That game is probably also an analog horror. It has to be, the way it plays and looks. Super great game. Super hard, too. Some of these can be really challenging. I like to make content about things that are on the mind, and I just like to yap about stuff. Sometimes it's negative, and the Overwatch shills really decide to fire into me. Sometimes it's positive. This is completely positive. I want to give my full-fledged support to all of these developers. They're great people making great games, all through passion and love. AAA studios, they don't know what that is anymore. We basically have to look towards indie games to find anything that has any kind of merit. These people should be getting paid handsomely, and yet they're doing this as labors of love and to help grow themselves as creators. There's nothing more commendable than that. Let's go play Shipwrecked 64. Yep, I sure know how to work some wood, but so much wood to be worked. It's wild that while you work the wood, it grows, I gotta say. Well, that was certainly an experience. Shipwrecked 64 is definitely unlike anything I've ever played before. After quickly playing through the initial game, the edited version, again, I'm not going to get into spoiler territory, but you can see the additional version when you start the game, so it's not like something super hidden that there's two versions of the game inside the game. I will say this because you probably already know it, and I knew it too, but I didn't know to what extent. Shipwrecked 64 is an ARG, which is an alternate reality game. It's a game where you play it in the real world, but it's also a video game. Usually these are reserved for marketing campaigns, movies, TV shows, things like that. I personally couldn't find any secrets. I thought I was onto one, but I knew I'd have to spend a couple of hours just seeing if I could flesh it out and figure out what I was doing there. Shipwrecked 64 is the result of these very talented game creators in the analog horror sphere making something a little bit more fleshed out and maybe having a budget and having a team on it and giving it more time than a 30-day challenge. Not to knock on Replay, that game is great, but there's so much to it, and for all we know, not every single thing has been found yet. I'm sure the developers don't want to announce when that happens. I'm sure they want you to continue to think up what could possibly lay inside of this disturbing N64 game, but it's not really it's on Steam, by the way. It is $8. Careful if that's something you're not comfortable with, is spending money on something that might be more of a viewer experience. Like, speaking of which, I do plan to upload all of the playthroughs of these games on the secondary channel, the Homie Dot. I'll put a link at the end. My videos are just as weird as Analog Horror. The ending is not the ending. There's like 3 more endings. So if you didn't know that, you could have been missing out on a lot of extra stuff in videos. Just letting you know. I'm finding when I make a video on YouTube, it's just whatever I think is important at that moment in time. I think it's important to share praise for these devs and to acknowledge the hard work they're putting in a genre that's very niche, but that niche genre, it's really special. And I'm loving it. I don't know if I could say that this is 100% my favorite genre of all time, but it is my favorite genre right now. This is really fun. I'm excited to keep diving into these games and learning more about their worlds, which are all different and weird and also surreal and almost feel like a fever dream. Like, it's all just so strange, and I think I've been playing them for a while now, sometimes without realizing them. Soda Drinker Pro? Yeah, baby. I know that. I'll drop an old school one on you. Juice World? Yeah, I love them all. Great games. Hope you enjoyed your time here. I have to go deeper. I have to go deeper before I'll understand more, and hopefully I keep my sanity in check, which was already loose to begin with. Bye! He doesn't have a nose. Okay, that's scary.